नोट ओपन कर देना।
नोट चाहिए।
माइक ये करेगा।
पीपीटी में यूज़ कर सकते हैं। पीपीटी पे ही आप पेंसिल यूज़ कर सकते हैं।
हाँ वही कर रहा हूँ। नहीं इससे ईजी जाता है। ठीक। So good evening. So what we are doing is we are just continuing with our daily news or current affairs part. So on the first page, do you find anything important? If you have newspapers, if no, that's fine. Anything relevant you can find on page number 1? What? BRICS, I have put it anyway. Apart from BRICS, anything important as such for the exam? Nothing as such. Only BRICS seems to be important, although it's not a big news as such. Recently this BRICS summit has taken place, because of which it is in news, right? Basic things what we all need to know is BRICS very important for us, and what is BRICS? What is BRICS? Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa. That's BRICS. When someone asks you what is BRICS, don't give this answer. Call it a multilateral organization where different countries will come together. If we are having some communication or some partnership wherein 2 countries are involved, we call it bilateral. So similarly, this is multilateral. Now in this organization, what is so special is these countries are those whom we call as emerging economies. I'm calling emerging economies. Okay. See, the world works on the principle of finance. Economy matters. A country who has got money, that country has got the power, right? Now let's say there are few countries who are having the highest GDP, or let's say they are economically the strongest. So whatever will happen in the world, that will be decided somewhat by these countries. After World War II, this was being done by a group called as G7. So it was a group led by United States of America. But you see, the countries who are part of G7, all of them are Western countries, and these are those countries who were economically the strongest after World War II, I'm saying, till recent times, or till you can say till 2000, let's say. Okay. So whatever was happening in the world, especially any economic decision being taken, right? Let's say you look at World Bank, you look at IMF. We get loans from World Bank, Pakistan gets from IMF, right? Now what will happen in World Bank, how the structure of the World Bank will be, who will have more voting power, everything is more or less decided by this G7 structure. More or less, they hold the major power. Fine. Now what is happening? Now the economic order in the world is changing, especially since last 20 years or 25 years maybe, after 2000 specifically. We are observing some countries are growing economically, especially since we have done this LPG reform in the year 1991, right? When we opened up our economy. Similarly, China did way back. We were a bit late, we can say. So there are some countries in the world which started growing exponentially in economic terms. Okay, India is part of it. So what the studies in 2000s claim that there will be few countries who are going to dominate. Those few countries were 4 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China. So there was this economist. This person said, where is his name? This Jim O'Neill. This person, for the first time, he gave this term called BRIC, wherein he said these 4 countries, they are emerging economies of 21st centuries, and their economic size will be way larger than G7. Okay, so that means these are going to rule, but Western world doesn't like that. Okay, so they never want BRICS to become really powerful as such. Fine, storyline clear. What is BRICS? So initially this idea came from this economist. After that, we people like India, Russia, China, they got to know that, oh, we should think about it. So we came up with a group called BRIC. Now after that, South Africa also joined the group, so it became BRICS. And after some time, few other countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all these countries started looking for some subscription in the group, right? So right now we have 10 members who are part of it. Okay, one more, this Argentina wanted to become part, but they denied, maybe under pressure of West or United States. Fine, but it seems the BRICS is expanding. This is for sure. Okay, now first of all, you look at BRICS countries. All these countries who are part of BRICS, they are not Western countries, right? So somewhat it is said that BRICS is anti-West. Okay, this is said by the Western scholars, although we don't accept it because we don't want to fight with the Western countries directly. So we don't call it anti-West, we call it pro-East, or let's say pro-national interest. Fine. Now this platform is quite important. Reason being, you look at these facts. By the world population share, BRICS countries, they share 42% of the world's population. This shows it's important. 40% of the world is sitting over here. It's important. Look at GDP, 31% of global GDP. Again, seems quite important. Similarly, land area, trade, etc., we have the facts. Okay. Now, this BRICS is coming up with its new institutions, just like we have World Bank, IMF, all those structures which are creating this world order. Similarly, this BRICS is coming up with its own institutions, wherein we don't need to depend on the Western world. So we have World Bank, they said they are creating this new development bank, or we call it BRICS Bank also. So World Bank provides loans, they'll say we will also provide loans, please come here, right? Similarly, you have IMF, they have this contingent reserve arrangement, very similar structure. Okay, and there are many more initiatives which you will read anyway about BRICS. Okay, so this is the basic part about BRICS which you should know. Clear? Now the recent summit that was taken place, or Brazil. In Brazil, this summit has taken place, right? Now there is a continuation of this news on this editorial page. So in this editorial section, we have this common goals, right? What happened? Modi ji doesn't like to visit just one place, he likes to visit multiple places, right? So he wanted to go to some other countries, like for example, we have countries like Ghana, Trinidad, Tobago, Argentina, right? So now the point is, this article specifically talks about something called as cooperation among Global South. Any idea what is Global South? Which are not developed countries. All are Global South. And why this term Global South? There's a line called equator. Ah. Okay. So So normally when we look at the world, you will observe that the countries who are located in the northern part, they're rich, they're advanced, modernized, right? USA, UK, France, Germany, Russia, all these advanced countries are there. And you go to south, you'll find poor, not so rich, although India is quite rich now, but poor countries, the conditions are very pathetic in these areas, high inequality. But most importantly, you look at the historical part, most of the time you'll find that the countries who are there in the southern part of the world, they were colonized by the countries who were there in the northern part. So USA colonized some countries, Germany, France, Britain, yes, everyone did whatever they could, right? Now when you observe this northern part and the southern part, you will find some specific differences. Differences will be there in terms of economy, in terms of social conditions. Conditions are very horrible here and things are going very good over here. So there is a difference. Even when we talk about climate change or environmental impact of climate change. So nowadays we are observing some impact. 1 degree temperature increased. So suddenly there will be more tsunamis. Suddenly there will be some disasters. And we are observing, or there are many studies who claim very clearly that the impact of this climate change will be more on this global south rather than the global north, right? Now go to United Nations. United Nations, who is governing United Nations? Government of the United Nations? US is government. Yes? Let's call United Nations as the overall government structure at the world level, just like we have government in India. So the Parliament of United Nations is United Nations General Assembly, where everyone is sitting, just like our MPs are sitting. Then there is government part, the executive part, United Nations Security Council. How many permanent members are there? Five. Can you name? Good. Russia, yes. So USA, UK, France, China and Russia. Remove China, rest all the countries are these advanced northern countries. So more or less the world decisions are taken by northern countries. And there is this debate continuously between these two segments. They want to serve their interest, they want to serve their interest. If you look at India, India's interests align more with the global north or global south. Look at our own national interest. Why global south and not global north? We meet Trump more than we meet South African president.
Because India is like top for top transformers in the global south.
We are the top, we are the leader of poors. Huh? Okay. Still, we want to increase our economic growth. Then if we have good relation with northern countries, that will be much better, no? Do you think economic power of South is really good? We don't see that. They're not economically strong, that's why they're in this condition.
India has an Act East policy.
Act East. East is on this side, madam. This side.
But it's still at South.
We're talking about South only. But East, when I say this part is East. Japan, South Korea, or our Southeast Asian countries. No idea? Look at normally India. India aligns more with this part or this part. I said historically, this part of the world was colonized by this northern part. So do we have history which aligns with them or them? South. We are also part of the same group. Just by chance, we have grown economically. Otherwise, we are also the same. Right? So you will find that the interest of India more align with the southern part. Again, as I said, environmental example which I have given. So India is also having one of the highest impact of this climate change. India will also face that, right? There is income inequality in the world. The global institutions, when we talk about United Nations and all, we also don't have representation over there, right? We deserve to get. Similarly, Africa doesn't have any representation, and Europe has got more representation than it actually needs, right? So more or less you'll observe we have interest common with the global south. Clear? Now that's what Prime Minister Modi is also saying. Here, what he's doing is, with his bilateral visits, India is trying to build its relations better with the global south. Okay. Now when we look at these countries particularly, Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, and this Argentina, what's so special about these countries? So Ghana, African country, important country for us, because we know that Africa has got a lot of resources. Okay, China also knows, and anyway China is competing with us. We are also trying to get our hold in Africa. India holds decent soft power in African region. Okay, now what we do is, whenever they are in need, we try to help them. Now we are getting into some kind of partnership. So for example, here we talk specifically about health diplomacy. So let's say countries in Africa, they need some kind of medicines, they need some kind of vaccines. What India will do? Either we will produce some vaccines and provide it to them, because pharmaceutical industry in India is doing really good. Or we help these countries build their setup, their pharmaceutical industries. For example, this Ghana is known as vaccine hub for the West African region. Okay, and they are known as vaccine hub because of the support India has given to this country. Okay, so this is how we are building our relationship over here. Then Trinidad, Tobago, here we have helped them with generic drugs. Any idea what is generic drugs? Affordable, cheap. Again, don't answer like this.
Non-patented.
Okay, so whenever any drug, or let's say any vaccine or anything is made, normal paracetamol or whatever, so the composition of that medicine or that drug, same can be copied. Same means the active ingredients that are part of it, we can copy the same and make another medicine, right? That is something we call as generic drugs. India is again good with this. Okay, we make really good generic drugs and we supply it to these countries. Then Argentina. Is Argentina important? Where is Argentina located? South, I know, madam. We are also in South. So, South America, right? Now, when I look at Argentina specifically, it is more important for us considering the changing technologies in the present times. So any idea what kind of a reserve Argentina has got, because of which we are so much interested in Argentina? Oil? Gold. Gold. Nice. Okay. So nowadays, something called as lithium has become very important, because we want to transition from this oil to electric vehicles. We don't want petrol, diesel based vehicles as such. We want electric vehicles, and to make electric vehicles, we need something called as lithium. Lithium becomes very important. Now you look at the reserves of lithium in the entire world. They are more available in the South American region. So there are 3 countries which we call as lithium triangle, and Argentina is part of it. Okay, other one is, I think, Bolivia and Chile, right? So these 3 countries, they have got substantial reserves of lithium. And if we want to build electric vehicles in our country, we need supply of lithium, because we don't have that, right? So we are interested in having some good cooperation with Argentina. For critical minerals, out of those critical minerals, this lithium is the most important one. Clear? Basic idea you're getting? That's the same thing they have discussed over here in this particular article. Okay, and as far as BRICS is concerned, Prime Minister Modi says the majority of the world population is not properly represented in key global institutions. It's the same thing that we discussed. That global institutions like World Bank, like United Nations, the world population is not rightly represented over there. What do you understand by this? Yes, right representation is simply like in our parliament. We have people from Telangana also, we have people from Arunachal also, and there is representation. But let's say there is no representation from South India. How would you feel? The same thing he is saying. Okay? So there is a talk on global institution reform. Reform of global institutions or global governance institutions. Okay? And India is leading this part. That's what we talk in BRICS summit. Clear? Doubt? No doubt? No doubt? Very good. Now there's another editorial. Yes, next page or the same page? Same page, very good. The new battle challenge of China-Pakistan collusion. Although not very important, but one thing that they have discussed that becomes quite important from the security perspective or India's foreign policy, specifically the military strategies. See, we live in a neighborhood which we can't control, right? We have got one really good friend of us, Pakistan. Bangladesh nowadays is becoming similar to them, but till now we haven't seen that. But Pakistan, for sure. And then we have China also. Bad luck, China is way more powerful than us, right? Now what this article is specifically talking about, they're saying India can face this challenge of two-front war situation. Any idea what is two-front war? Both Pakistan and China will attack at the same time. Is it a problematic scenario? Yes. It is a problematic scenario because, see, Ukraine is fighting with Russia or Russia is fighting only with Ukraine. Just one country. Do you think this is the case? No, this is not the case. Russia is fighting with Ukraine and Ukraine is supported by USA. Right? Or let's say Iran right now, this fight which was going on. Iran is fighting Israel. Is it the reality? So any country, let's say, now that's a different case wherein we are talking about support. Let's say this is one country, let's say India. From western side Pakistan attacks, from eastern side China attacks at the same time. It will become difficult for us to manage this case. Even if, let's say, assume that China is not that powerful. Remove China, talk about Bangladesh, let's say. Still, it becomes very difficult for any country to fight on two different fronts. Okay? So any country will ever try that if I'm fighting with one, let's focus on this area only. Others should not attack us. That would be ideal condition for any war. Okay? Now, earlier, the scholars, they used to talk about two-front war, that both countries might attack together and India should be ready for that. Now, what this writer is specifically saying, they'll not attack together. Only Pakistan will attack. But Pakistan will be completely supported by China. China will not open up another front from this side. Rather, they will open the same front with additional power. With additional power. Now, when I say this additional power, here comes the military part, technological part, and psychological part. Technology we can understand. Whatever technological support Pakistan needs, China will provide that. See, we have got good technology, like we have got our satellites, we can check many things and all. China is way better than that, way better than we are. That will be provided. Then military equipments, whatever military equipments are needed, those will be provided. And psychologically, see, there will be many statements made. If, let's say, a country is going for a war, before war, many things are already happening. There will be different statements from different people. Let's say there's this problem of Ladakh, Pangong Tso region, we're fighting with China. Pakistan will give us a statement in support of China. When we are fighting with Pakistan, or let's say we are having this Indus Water Treaty related issue, China will say that India is doing wrong. Or even in our country, the opinion of people is manipulated. It matters a lot. See, when you're going for a war with any country, you can't go directly. Just like Modi ji thought that I want to go ahead with war, he can't do that. He has to first convince us, right? He has to first convince the population. If population living in that area doesn't want that, you can't go for it. So you will find that there will be many organizations which are funded by China or funded by Pakistan, or both will be working in collusion, right? Where it will lead to some psychological warfare. Clear? So there will be a thought wherein people will be convinced that the Indian government is not really good. Maybe that's what is happening in Iran right now, right? So if such things happen, then there will be instability in our political affairs. Suddenly prime minister might change, suddenly there will be a military coup, anything can happen. Fine? So the article specifically talks about this collusion. Be ready for this condition. This is already happening. They're not saying this will happen. They're saying this is already happening. So they've given some examples. We had this conflict with China to 2020. There, how Pakistan was supporting them. And recently we had this conflict with Pakistan and how China is supporting. This is something they have analyzed in this particular article. Okay? So, as I said, as such this article is not so important, but the conclusion that they give or the suggestions this writer is giving, that is particularly important for us for mains. Okay, for example, they say be ready for this two-front threat, right? Or this simultaneous action or coordination among these two countries. So what India needs to do? One of the things is we need to focus on joint command structure. We have one problem wherein our military works very independently, Navy works independently, Air Force works independently. We don't have right cooperation among these three organs. They're doing good job, but the coordination is lacking. So what we need is something called as this integrated theater commands, on which already government is working. Okay, what we do is we bring some people from military, some people from Navy, some people from Air Force, and we make a new battalion altogether. Okay, and they can coordinate, and that's how we want to be ready for any such attacks, right? So this is something the writer is suggesting. Then faster military modernization. Now this is something you can understand. We need to modernize our military. We need the high-end or technologically advanced equipments. Like we have this S-400, BrahMos. These are very good. But now because we will anyway, whenever we are planning to fight with Pakistan, that will be a fight with China. We have to keep this in mind. So faster modernization is needed, and for this, defense budget might need to be increased. Okay. Now, although it was being expected from this particular government that they will anyway raise the defense budget, because right-wing governments usually focus more on the defense part, right? So this was expected, but the way it was expected, that has not happened. And considering this situation right now, it is needed. Clear? And as far as this technology part, AI, cyber, electronic warfare, all these parts needs to be focused on. This is what this article is saying. Clear? Any doubt? No? Good. Now the next editorial. Not so important, just one or two lines which you need to know. After reading all this stuff, I understand just one line, what the writer is trying to say. India doesn't take any stance whenever there is a conflict, especially in the West Asian region. West Asia or Middle East, whatever you call it. So, writer is saying simply, India responds strategically and not reactively. Suddenly someone attack, will not react. We wait. There is a reason behind that. The reason being India's interest in this West Asian region. If any conflict starts, whoever wins doesn't matter. What matters to us more is our own interest. What about our energy security? What about our petrol and diesel? Suddenly, if there is no supply of oil and natural gas to India, because let's say a conflict started, so the road, those areas will be blocked, there will be chaotic situation, will not get the supply. So suddenly, you will see the prices of petrol will increase. And because of that, there will be inflation in India. Right? Suddenly prices of everything will increase. And that will be a cost for the political leaders. Everyone will question them, what is this? Prices have increased. You should resign. So first thing that India will ever try to do is ensure energy security. And for that, we have to maintain good relations with almost every player over there. Now, Israel doesn't provide us with any natural gas, oil as such. But Israel helps us in the security part. Yes, helps us in technologies and all. So they are also important. Security matters. So everyone matters to us. Okay. Then our diaspora living over there, many people from Indian origin or India, they're living in the West Asian region, right? So they matter to us. The maritime security part, the region, if you see this Persian Gulf and all, we go for trade in that region. Our ships are also going from the same region. We want that region to be secure. Otherwise, our shipments, see, we are selling something, we are also importing something. We want security of the region, right? And as we are going ahead with some strategic partnership, some long-term partnership with some countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, specifically Israel, we are going ahead with a long-term vision because we know how this politics is changing, how there will be a conflict between USA and China. And in that somewhat we are tilting towards USA. And because of that we are also tilting towards these countries too. So we see some long-term vision and long-term partnership. So because of this thing happens that we don't react whenever there is any conflict, any situation. Okay? So this is our strategic silence is what these terms are being used. So writer is saying, sir, this is a strategic silence. Doesn't mean we don't care about these conflicts and all. It's not indifference. It's just a strategic silence because we are interested in our national interest. So it's a one-line thing that you just need to understand. Clear? Next, end of tuberculosis. What is tuberculosis? Huh? Okay. So tuberculosis or TB, normally we call it TB. Yes? Now, this tuberculosis is quite important for exam because it's a disease. Then there are so many diseases, all are important. TB becomes important because many people in the world, they die because of TB. TB is quite famous for that. And the reason it becomes way more famous because it is a treatable disease. You can treat it. If there is a patient, we have got medicines, drugs, all the treatment mechanism with us. But sometimes the treatment is not done. That's the reason people die. Now you see the numbers. Estimated TB cases in India, 26 lakh. 2023 data, 27.4 lakh. 2024, 27.8 lakh. That's a registered data. So we assume the real data must be way higher than this, right? Now these many people are already suffering from this disease. That's why tuberculosis becomes important. Now when we look at the discussion at the world level, it is expected that because we have all the mechanisms, treatment, everything available, we should eradicate tuberculosis from the entire world. That's an expectation. Okay, obviously under WHO, we talk about all these things. Okay, so India at the national level also thinks about completely eliminating tuberculosis as a disease. Fine. Now look at this. The technical part. Tuberculosis is caused by virus, bacteria, plasmodium, etc. Such questions will be directly there in prelims. Very basic, very easy. And we all know that not everyone is going to make it because we don't know what is bacteria and what is virus, right? So here, tuberculosis, that you have to read. Okay, that's science part. So it is caused by a bacteria. Name is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, and mostly it affects the pulmonary region or your lungs, you can say. Simply we can call lungs are mostly affected, but it's not necessarily only lungs. It can affect many other things of your body, many other parts of your body. Okay. Then Transmission part, airborne disease through air. The droplets will transmit from one person to the other person, right? Now, do we have treatment? Yes, we have some antibiotics available, 6 months to 18 months period, and you can be cured. There's a vaccine also called as BCG vaccine that is also given. And specifically, you look at this part, we have a target to eliminate tuberculosis by 2025. Now, this is important. 2030. 2030 is the target set by WHO for the entire world. India said we will do this way earlier than entire world. So we said we will eliminate this TB by 2025. Okay, that's the story. Now this is factual part, up to you if you want to study, if you want to keep a data with you. Yes? So that's all. Otherwise we don't find much important stuff over here. Now the last article that seems important. Yes, this is called Environment Impact Study. Any idea what is environment impact? Or environmental impact assessment, to be more specific. Yes.
Starting a project, we assess whether the project will affect the environment.
Only environment?
Environment in the sense the tribal life, also the forest, everything.
Okay. So let's say we are starting. There is a debate between development and environment. We want development, but environment is affected. But we want good environment also. What's the use of that development if environment is not there? No? We need oxygen. Now the point is, here now we are doing something called as environment impact assessment. Here we are already assessing, we are already studying what will be the impact of a particular project. If we build this project, let's say we are building a nuclear power plant here in Hyderabad. Okay? Government is saying that we'll do this, Chief Minister is ready, Prime Minister is ready. And suddenly you got to know to build this nuclear power plant at a particular area. Let's say they said they'll do it over here. So we have to remove all of you from here. This will not happen. Mostly this happens in remote areas where maybe tribal people are living, where there is forest land. So you have to cut the trees, you have to remove the people living over there. So there will be some environmental impact, there will be social impact, there will also be some economic impact. So what we do is we make that estimation already before starting the project, right? That's called environment impact assessment. Clear? Then if we feel that the cost benefit, if we check, if it seems that it is still okay to go ahead with this project, then we'll go ahead. But if it seems that the cost is very high, the impact is so dangerous that it's better we should not go ahead with this project, then we'll not go. Fine? This is the theoretical idea. In reality, this doesn't happen. That's a different thing. Now, recently, environment impact study for this Nicobar project downplays earthquake risks. So there is a project called as Nicobar, Great Nicobar Infrastructure Project. Now this is very important project. Okay, Andaman Nicobar strategically very important for India. Okay. Now in this region specifically they are talking about Nicobar, and government is spending around 72,000 crore rupees on this particular project. So the number tells you the importance of this project, right? Now what all they are doing? There will be development of some transshipment port. Transshipment means, see, there will be some ships, they will come, they'll halt, or let's say there will be loading, unloading, all these things, and they'll go. Their final destination is different. Final destination was not this place. Okay? So this is called transshipment port. Those will be developed over here. Airports will be there, township will be there, some power plants will also be there. So it's a big project. That's why we use this term, mega project. Okay? Now, before we start with this, we are doing this environment impacts study or environment impact assessment, right? So this recent study has claimed that this region seems to be seismically active region. Seismically means there is a possibility of earthquake in this region. Okay, studies show that this mega earthquake is measured in Richter scale. So 9 Richter or more than 9 Richter, that's called as mega earthquake. So they have checked the recurrence. So in 420 to 750, so around in 500, 600 years, one mega earthquake will be there in this region. Okay, and large earthquake, 7.5 Richter scale, 80 to 120 years. In this range, you will see at least one large earthquake in this region, right? Now, even after this particular study claims that there is very less chance of this project suffering because of any earthquake, because they feel that there is very low probability of major earthquakes in the near future. That's the study which is claiming. Okay, although this news will continue, because there will be the other side, some scholars, some environmentalists, many people who will argue this is wrong, government should not do this. This will continue, we'll see that. Okay, for now, what this study is claiming, this is what we understand. And they are saying that in 2004 we saw this tsunami which affected this region specifically. So we might not see any such tragedy in near future. That's why you should go ahead with this project. Green signal for government. Clear? So that's it. Any doubts if you have, you can ask, or we are done with it. No? Good.
Laptop